We must follow God, not just because we feel really strongly about him in a certain moment, right? Because our feelings change. Our feelings are fleeting. They are up and then they're down. They're left and then they're right. They're really, really hot and then they're really, really cold at times. The call is for us to learn God in a way that transforms our thinking, right? It's not just about how we feel. It's about what we know. Y'all know how y'all be cleaning your car when y'all first get it? It's like, don't eat in here. Don't eat in here. Next thing you know, you got Chick-fil-A barbecue sauce all on the steering wheel. You know, you driving and dipping your whole finger in it. So you just wiping it. You drawing. You putting the MapQuest directions on the dashboard. When that just saved smell wears off, we still have a resilience that helps us to stand strong, even when we feel like running away, like Red on Friday when Debo took his bike, chain, all of that, right? We won't run away cowardly like this. Peter had this kind of resilience. Even though he was at one point a coward, he still had a resilience. And the question is, where did it come from? This is what I want us to think about, y'all. I want us to put ourselves here. Where does that kind of resilience come from? What changed Peter from the time he had denied Jesus? It was the same thing that should embolden all of us. Peter had an encounter. Peter had an encounter, and not just with anybody, and not just with anything. Peter had an encounter with Jesus risen from the grave. It's one thing to hang out with somebody and you see them do some really cool stuff and they say they're going to do something super crazy. And you're like, okay, I've seen you do some amazing things, but that's impossible, right? I was just reminded of a video that I saw of a dude who did a backflip off of a 2-story house on Hanover like 10 years ago. They dared him and he did it, backflip 2 stories, a house. Off a house. Now, he did get hurt, but he didn't get that hurt. I mean, he was down there like Goku trying to charge up for a little bit, but he was, he was okay, I guess. And I would have been amazed at him after that. But we're talking about Jesus. Jesus said that he was going to go down, but he wasn't going to stay there. And he did all these other miracles, and apostles are like, oh, man, this is God. That's right. We standing firm. But then when the soldiers came and everything got really, really tight, they were like, is he really going to get up? Because if he don't, that means I won't get up. And then Peter saw Jesus resurrected, risen from the grave. And it gave him this confidence that all of us should be able to rest in today. Imagine the flood of emotions that Peter had when he first saw Jesus. The joy, the embarrassment, right? Excited. And it's like, oh, man, I denied you. The hope and the shame. Like, oh, I'm excited. Oh, man. 3 times I said, I don't even know you. I don't even know you. But Jesus, being who he is, speaks right into where Peter needs him to. And he affirms and commissions him. Let's look at John chapter 21, 15 through 19. This is what it says. So when they had eaten breakfast, Jesus asked Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? Right, remember all these Mark busters, right? Yes, Lord, he said, you know that I love you. Feed my lambs, he told him. Second time, he asked him, Simon, son of John, you love me? Yes, Lord, he said to him. You know I love you. Shepherd my sheep, he told him. And he asked him the third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And Peter was grieved that he asked him a third time, do you love me? He said, Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you. Feed my sheep, Jesus said. Truly, I tell you, when you were younger, you would tie your belt and walk wherever you wanted. When you grow old, you would stretch out your hands and someone else will tie and carry you where you don't want to go. Jesus asked Peter 3 times, do you love me? And Peter answered confidently. But every time after the first, I think some of that disappointment started to creep in again. Some of that doubt, some of that fear, some of that shame. He started to remember his failure, even in the face of his Savior. He started to remember, and I wonder if he's asking me this because I turned my back on him. I wonder if he's digging in because I committed X, Y, or Z sin. I had an opportunity to do the right thing, and I did the wrong thing. I wonder if Jesus is asking me if I love him because there's been times where I've demonstrated that I might not. There's been times where I had opportunity to show my love in real ways, and instead, I was a coward. Instead, I rejected him. I abandoned him. And then Jesus, as loving as he is, he looks at him, and he tells him, don't give up doing the work that I've called you to do. He assures him. He affirms him. He says, feed my sheep. Y'all, we're not like that. When people have hurt us, when people have done things that we consider to be worse than what we do, we have this tendency and this propensity to just write them off. They can't come back. You can't be close to me because you're that guy. And we mark people by the things that they've done rather than the work that the Messiah has done in them. And not just that he has done, right? Because some people, the work hasn't been done yet. But there is opportunity for every single person to come into a loving and effectual relationship with the Savior that changes everything about who they used to be. Peter was the cussing and cutting apostle. But that ain't all he is. And by God's grace, that's no longer who he is. Same for y'all. I know some of y'all be cussing. 𝐬𝐢𝐴, you ain't got to tell no people. 𝐬𝐢𝐴 is snitching right now. That's not the end of your story. It doesn't matter what your thing is, what your sin is, what your propensity is. That's not the end of your story, y'all. Coming in contact with the resurrected Jesus, it alters everything about who we are. It gives us this kind of confidence and this kind of hope, this kind of dedication and commitment that's able to say, I want to do this thing, but I know that it's not worth what the Savior has paid for me. His life, his death, his burial, and now I know his resurrection is for me. And it changes everything. It gives me a power. It gives me a confident hope where I don't have to cave in to my desires. I don't have to cave into the pressures that's around me. But I can stand confidently. I can stand boldly. That's why I love Jesus, y'all. Because he's there for us with reassurance when the world is there with rejection. The world is like, go away. You're a loser. And Jesus is like, I love you.